Alright, Plecocumbers isn't really a thing, I just made that up. But I feel like plenty of us know there are lots of vegetables that are good for the fish's health and help towards their enrichment and natural foraging. Courgette then, or zucchini, depending where in the world you're from, is certainly one of the most used ones, probably one of the most healthiest for our fish. Plecos certainly enjoy grazing on them, and the fibre is good for their diet, but lots of other fish enjoy vegetables too, including the courgettes. So I got to thinking, instead of keep buying them from the grocers or the supermarket, I wondered if I could grow some for myself. So I gave it a go. One day in mid-May then, I got some of these big planters, filled them full of compost and started sticking seeds in. Wasn't doing it by myself, I had help. Had my best man on the job with me. And admittedly, we went for the brute force system of sticking as many seeds in the pots as we could. I think it meant to spread them out a little bit more than that, but hey, it was our first attempt and I just wanted to know that they would grow, really. So a few days in and I was feeling slightly disheartened, nothing much was going on, but just after about a week, tiny shoots started to appear. A few more days and there was definite courgette growing action going on, so I was pretty pleased at that. Probably at this stage it would be a good idea to separate the plants and move them into a bit more space. I've got a little bit of difficulty here. There's so many human fry running about with footballs and all sorts that it's hard for me to keep anything in the ground. So I continued on with the planting pots for now. As you can see though, they started to flourish. I was giving them a diet of rainwater and fish tank fish water change water. Plants love the nitrogen in your water change water, so I used that and things were going fantastic actually. I'm not entirely sure why the ones at the back were growing bigger than the ones in the front. The sun is behind the house during the day and behind that fence of an afternoon. I don't know if that's something to do with it, but eventually started getting these flowers. You can eat them as well, by the way. But underneath the flowers, once they are pollinated, is where the plecocumbers start to grow. As you can see here, wee baby ones starting to form. I had read that once the smaller ones start to form, you're supposed to snip them off, as they will take all the energy from the plant rather than sharing it out, but I let them go a bit further than maybe I should have done, just because I was excited that I was getting them. But yeah, you can see there's some nice healthy courgettes growing now. And we'll have a look at what we're going to do with them at the end of this video actually. You're kind of getting an idea just how many plecocumbers you're going to get though, just from a few seeds. So kind of achieved the result that we were setting out for. Relatively low cost. I think it was something like £1 for a packet of seeds. And then, well, virtually nothing after that. Rainwater and fish change water. The compost you can manufacture yourself if you've got a wee compost bin. Just toss your kitchen waste into it. Hey, garden waste, clippings and whatnot. Wee bit of sawdust. Wee bit of time and patience and turning it over. Tossing a few earthworms. And you've got compost in no time. But, relatively cheap. Especially if you weren't buying the planters I did. If you're just putting them straight in the ground. I know some species of courgette plant do climb, and I wasn't sure which I had, so I started building a bit of a structure for them if they did want to reach up. I'll be honest with you, I did get a wee bit carried away and started building something a little bit like an Ewok village, but hey, I was enjoying myself. Turns out this bee likes Star Wars too. One of our pollinators right there. However, it was a little bit camera shy. That's about it anyway, pretty straightforward. Not particularly hard. I'm not particularly green fingered or anything like that. Just stuck a few seeds in some compost and away they went. It's gone really well. I think anybody can do it. Once we've grown them, how do we give them to our fish then? How do we prepare them? Well, I normally blanch them. Well, I'm not sure it's truly blanching. This is what I do. Cut them into slices or segments. pour on some boiling water and stick them in the microwave for a wee minute. Once it goes ping, I normally just lift it out. You might need something to protect your hands if it might be quite hot depending what you're using, especially something with that handle. But then I'll just set them down on the side, let the water cool, and when it has cooled, pour it away. Then you can attach the vegetable to a fork and toss it into your tank. You could use a long stainless steel barbecue skewer, works well because you haven't got to reach too far into the tank to lift it out again. Or even a aquarium food clip that you can buy. There are lots of animals that we keep in aquariums that will love feasting on these courgettes or zucchini, plecocumbers. And if you grow your own, well, you can save yourself some money while doing it, can't you? I think May is the best time to plant them, at least in this part of the world anyway. So it's maybe a wee bit late in the year this time round, but now you've seen how easy it is and actually quite enjoyable, you can put it away in your memory banks for next year, hey? I would say if you're putting courgette in your tank, leave it in for a few hours and then whip it out. Don't leave it overnight. It can foul your water if you leave it rotting in there, especially if it's a smaller tank. But that's the only drawback I can think of. So, me and my plecocumbers are out. Later.